You're listening to the Synergy Leadership Podcast, a discussion with engaging, empowering, and enlightening leaders about the greatest competitive advantage in business and entrepreneurship that often goes unrecognized, a team's energy. Here's your host, the woman who puts the energy in synergy, Karen R. Jenkins.
Welcome to this episode of the Synergy Leadership Institute podcast. I am so excited to have a wonderful special guest, one of our leaders of our Columbia Midlands area, Carl Blackstone. And I'm not going to belabor it because I'm really excited that he agreed to come in and share some of his wisdom and insight with us. So Carl, if you don't mind, if you just introduce yourself to our audience who may not know you. I don't know why they wouldn't, but let's start there.
Well, I hope I have a little bit of wisdom, but I'm not sure. My wife may question that, but I'm Carl Blackstone. I'm president and CEO of the Columbia Chamber. Been here at the Chamber about 7 years. Originally from North Carolina, and I spent majority of my career. I tell everybody I'm a recovering lobbyist, but prior to that, I worked private sector. I've worked in public sector. We moved to Columbia actually 20 years ago to take a job, and we really love it in Columbia. We've got 4 daughters that all were born here in Columbia, so we're proud to be here, excited that what's going on in Columbia. But anyway, and being at the Chamber too has been a great experience for me, and something that I really didn't know if I was going to enjoy, quite frankly, and thoroughly have over the last 7 years.
For those that may not know about the Chamber of Commerce and what it does or what it offers, share a little bit about what role the Columbia Chamber serves.
Sure. Well, a little background. The Chamber has been around since 1902, and it was really meant to be, it formed organically, and being that businesses decided that they needed to form a partnership together, and that in that partnership they can work out different things. They can promote their individual businesses. They can actually look out for themselves as an industry with regulations and government issues, but as a networking opportunity as well. And so we carry that forward today, and the Chamber represents about 1,200 businesses here in the Midlands, not just downtown Columbia. We represent businesses all over the greater Midlands. I think we have about 7 counties represented under our Chamber of Commerce. And but our goal really is to enhance, improve the soil conditions, if you will, of the business community here in the Columbia region. So we also want to promote, and we want to make sure we have an engaged private sector. And I think that's important here, especially in a government community like ours. Is the private sector has a huge voice, and we need to expound on that. We need to improve that quite a bit, quite frankly. Why? Because we need to see more outside private growth, and that's been our one little Achilles heel in Columbia. We're growing. We could be growing at a better clip, and which would enhance your business, would enhance everybody's business, right? And we need job opportunities. We need incomes to go up, personal individual incomes to see an increase. So there are a lot of things that come around economic development. Economic development is a buzzword, right? I mean, there's 25 different things you could talk about in economic development. But anyway, the Chamber's trying to enhance that, and better education, working with our government officials, but also provide that networking opportunity as well, so you can get your name out and your business out.
Okay, so in sharing your background, you talked a little bit about having experience working in the private sector with businesses, being a government relations advisor, as well as holding other positions within local and state and at federal levels. So share with us a little bit about how you feel having that background has prepared you for your current role as president and CEO of the Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce.
It's been serendipitous in a way. I don't think I would have put myself in this position if I had thought about it. But I was fortunate enough to work for a member of Congress, and I got to see what goes on at the federal level. I worked in the governor's office and got to see what happens at the state level. I spent 14 years at the State House. And so I saw that sausage being made, but I'd never been really on the local level. But this job that I have, yes, it's here in Columbia, it's local, but I deal every day with both state officials and federal officials. So it aligned nicely with some of what I've worked on in the past. But really, if you think about it, in South Carolina, it's all about relationships, and South Carolina is unique in that fashion. We'll joke about being 2 degrees of separation, but in reality, it's about understanding the different roles, the federal, state, local level, but also, more importantly, it's just knowing the folks that are there and understanding where they come from and the relationships that you build over a period of time. You know, I've moved to the local level. I purposely wanted to feel like you can have more of an impact on a local level than you can a state and federal, right? And so I felt really I saw this as an opportunity for me to use my past experiences, but also when you work on things for years and years at a time and don't see a lot of change at the state level or the federal level, actually getting your hands dirty on the local side is great, but you can see the changes sooner, and you have not always sooner, but sometimes you do, but also we love this community, and so the goal was to really make it a better place to live, work, and play.
Awesome, and I love the fact that you do have so many levels of experience that seem to resonate and culminate coming into this role as the chamber. So speaking of that,
yeah,
when you look at the chambers, I'm gonna call it the chamber's vision. I don't know if you call that your vision or your tagline: to connect, to engage, to impact, and transform. Can you explain what that means to our listeners? And then in addition to that, can you share the resources and services that the chamber offers within the Midlands? So we're going to start out with the connect, the engage, the impact, and the transform.
Sure. When we were coming up with our mission and vision statement, it really was, what is our purpose? What do we want to achieve on a daily basis? And so we thought of 4 action words that we need to be mindful of. And one is connect. And so we want to connect our partners. Years ago, they were called members, and we changed it to partners because it is truly a partnership. It's a 2-way street, and businesses need to be a part of our chamber, but we need to give them something of value back where there's a return on that investment. And so connection is one of them. Connecting folks, providing opportunities for growth through networking and education, et cetera. I mean, it is connecting people to other people, or to business to other businesses. And so connection is important. Engage is a word where we need to start thinking about and planning for our future. Things that city council and county council are thinking about really take time to build out and grow. Develop a root system, if you will. You're looking and planning for 20 to 30 years out. And so engagement now will help create a better future for us all. And so we want to look at the future. We want to look at attracting, retaining, and expanding existing businesses here. And so you got to be engaged to do that. Impact is what we want to see, right? I mean, it's in creating an environment for better businesses, more income, as we talked about before, but sustained prosperity is one way to call it. But we've got to do that. We've got to impact the decisions that are being made right now to make sure that we keep an eye on the ball, that we've got to grow this economy. And to do that, we've got to be focused on public policy and advocacy, which are they're hugely important, right? But they take up a lot of time. Most of the time it's gone under the radar, though. Nobody really knows about unless it hits the front page of the paper or the TV stations, you don't know about it. But the regulatory environment, the tax structure, all those things are just building blocks of this community. And having an eye through the lens of a business is important. So we try to be impactful there and transform. We really think, I do, and I know the board does, and I think businesses that are relocating here come here for a reason, and that is to make, I mean, obviously you want to hire folks and you want to build wealth and you want to do all these things, but we want to build a world-class community here in Columbia. And we've got all of the ingredients. We've got more assets in Columbia than most cities that I'm aware of, from an airport to interstate system to a R1 research institution 2 blocks away, state capital. We've got phenomenal assets here in Columbia, and we just need to make sure we take advantage of them. So those words, connect, engage, impact, and transform, help us, or at least are constant reminders for us what we need to be looking for.
Awesome. So along those lines, as far as, and it's wonderful that, as small business owners, as members of the community, we're in our life, right? We're in our lane, and we kind of focus on those things that are important to us. But what I think most of us take it for granted, or we don't even think about, are a lot of the things that the chamber is keeping a pulse on to ensure that our ecosystem remains vibrant, and to ensure that from a regulatory perspective, a taxation perspective, these are things that, I won't call them normal people, but regular Joes
Right.
don't really think about. So I think there needs to be a little more, I guess, light shined on the chamber to help people understand that you guys have an awesome purpose, and that when the chamber is successful, it benefits everyone. And we don't think that way. As a matter of fact, I know I've spoken to several people that I've had to educate on the chamber and help them understand why it's here. So I'm so glad that you're able to share with us a little bit about the importance of your mission and vision and impact that it has on our community.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think chambers for too long have been male, pale, and stale is the way I coined it here. But I think it's more of a 1960s, 1970s model trapped in a 21st century. And so relevancy is important. Being essential is better. And so we have to really be mindful of what we do on a daily basis for our partners. One, to make sure it matters to them. Two, that it's necessary. And three, that they see there's value in what we're doing. And if we can't do that, then we might as well pack it up. And so we're in this transformation now, and that's not just here in Columbia, it's across the board. And we are a nonprofit. We are working on advocacy and all these things that we're trying to do. But again, if we can't sell it back to our partners and explain the importance, then we failed in that mission. But looking at the long-term growth rate in Columbia and looking at all the different variables that go into that, which are a ton, and you're right, most people don't follow it because they're normal. They got their lives, right? I mean, leave it to us and we'll work on it. But it takes a little bit of engagement, and we got to recognize, I'm a huge believer in SWOT analysis. Strengths and weaknesses are important to understand, and that goes with communities as well. We need to know, as a community, what are we really good at, and what do we need improvement on? Because I promise you, if we're not doing it, our competitive cities are doing it, and so we want to keep up, and we want to be proactive in that area. But I think the long-term benefits of us doing that are huge.
Awesome. Share with us, when you talk about the resources and the services that the chamber provides to its partners, talk a little bit about that maybe some of the people and our listeners may not be aware of.
Sure. I mean, the gamut is huge, whether it's working with our businesses and helping them with an issue in the public sector, whether it's signage or roads or permitting or whatever. Those are common everyday things. If a business calls and they need help or looking for advice on where to get help in growing their business or starting a business, we don't necessarily fill out all the forms and do all the things necessary, but we can put you and line you with the right people that can help you with that. We're dot connectors in some ways for that. We're a huge resource for those that are coming to our fine Fort Jackson. We spend a lot of time on military issues because that is a significant industry for us, but also people are moving in every day for Fort Jackson. So we serve as a resource for them. But just promoting your business. I mean, half of the battle, if you start a business and you're a entrepreneur, you're good at what you are doing with your business, right? You can't be good at everything. And that's what I think a lot of people think you have to be good at everything. You can't. You don't have enough time in the day. And so we're trying to ease some of that burden and help be a resource and a facilitator, a connector, if you will. But we try, forget the personal stuff. We also provide opportunities for folks to meet other businesses and to find resources that if you need to find a partner in a sales position, or if you need help finding a copier machine or whatever it is. The connecting your business to other businesses is huge. And that's a big role we play. And what I found, it took me I'm not the fastest learner, but what I did find is you've got two types of businesses that come to a chamber: those that need something from us, and then those that need something through us. And so we've got some great partners like Blue Cross and Dominion and Prisma. They don't need us every day to help them connect dots. I mean, they got enough folks and they can do it themselves, but they need us to help on the advocacy. And that's the reverse when you got a small business guy who again is working 12 to 15 hours a day to put food on the table. They don't have time, and they need us to be an extension of their company. And so that's what we try to do.
Awesome. So, and again, it is nice to hear what impact the chamber has on our community. And one thing I'll share with our listeners, and this is something that I learned a long time ago, is that proximity is power.
Absolutely.
So as a small business owner, I may not have access, especially if I'm selling to a larger business, I may not have access to that larger business just if I'm out here, kind of putting it on my own. But becoming a member of the chamber and getting connected and engaged and involved in that community puts me in proximity. And I can leverage that proximity to build additional relationships. It may not necessarily convert to business, but maybe it does. Maybe it converts to a resource. And the fact that as a member, I have someone to call when I don't know something. And as you shared, you might not know the answer, but you have an arsenal of other businesses and other resources that you can refer me to. And again, when we talk about referrals, even if it's somebody that needs help or somebody that's looking to be introduced to another business, to be introduced to that business through the chamber is more powerful than me knocking on that person's door. So just wanted to make sure our listeners understood that there truly is power in connecting. And I want to share this too, Carl, because I had to learn, we go out and we become members of things.
Right.
And then that's it. We stroke the check, we for our membership fee, and then we sit around and wait for it to rain. And the reality for me was I had to learn that it's not just about becoming a member, it's about becoming an engaged member. It's about becoming a connected member. It's about if I'm not being impactful, I want to be impacted, but I can't do that if I'm just sitting there on the rock. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's one of I'm really big into making sure we set correct expectations. And just because you stroke that check, as you mentioned, doesn't mean that you're going to start seeing your business triple next year, right?
Right.
That's called work, and you got to put the time and energy in. But it's the same is true with any membership organization, for just not the chamber, but anyone. You get out of it what you put into it. And so you got to be deliberate, and you have to be very much present to think about it. If you're going to an after hours, it's not just to go get a free beer, right? I mean, you're there with a purpose, and you got to have an understanding that I want to get 3 business cards or 4 business cards when I leave today. And not just cards. I want to get good possible leads, or I want to meet somebody in this field because I need to have a desire or a specific need. You go in with goals and with a purpose, and it's business. We're all here to improve the business conditions here in town and for your business. So we want to be helpful, but you got to be present and you got to be engaged.
Right. And build a relationship. And here's what I tell people, that I've come in contact with is even at that networking event, that's just the beginning.
That's
so
right.
Meeting the person and getting the card, kind of like the membership. You get the membership and you sit around waiting, but you have to do follow-up. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And what better environment to get to meet someone and get to know someone and also get to trust someone than to meet them in the environment that the chamber provides. So I thank you.
And that's gotten so much easier in some ways with the virtual world that we're living in. How easy it is to do a 20-minute Zoom coffee with somebody, or after you meet them one time, or heck, let's try something original and actually meet for coffee. Right. or lunch. But you're right. When you meet somebody, that's the initial step, and then you got to put the work in to build those to build those relationships, because it really does matter.
So with Synergy Leadership, we talk about leveraging energy to basically accomplish a common goal. So in your case, it might be leveraging the energy of our community, leveraging the energy of your members, if you have leveraging the energy of your staff. And looking at that, I initially would talk about leveraging energy, but there's been so much going on over the last year. And we look at our business leaders today that have so many challenges from, the COVID crisis that happened, and who knew we'd be here over a year later still talking about it. We talk about the social injustice, and here we are, even in 2021, still having these conversations. So what is the one piece of advice that you would share with our business leaders on how today's actions that they take will impact their businesses in the decade, or even our community?
Well, I think it goes back to you got to do a gut check for yourself, and I think for me as a leader, one, you have to recognize that you're a leader, and you have to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I've got responsibilities now. You do that when you're a parent. You do that when you start paying bills. But when you have employees and you have clients and there's a leadership responsibility that goes with that, and recognizing that people view you as a leader is kind of odd. I have to be honest with you. I'm not sure I was very comfortable with that at first. But your actions speak for themselves. And so when other people are watching you, you need to be very cognizant of what you do, what you say, how you act. And especially in this hypersensitive climate that we're in right now, leaders need to be authentic. They need to be, forget the airs. They just need to be who you are and be direct, not in a rude way, but let people see who you are. And that once they do that and they see that you're consistent in that builds a lot of rapport. And so when I talk to young business folks right out of college, one, you were grown up in a certain way. Be true to yourself. Be true to who you are. Find that North Star. Whatever your center is, stay true to it. And authenticity is probably one of the most underrated traits of anybody, I think. But if you're authentic to yourself, it's easier to be consistent. And consistency as well is important, especially in the world that I live. I want to make sure I treat everybody the same. At least I hope I do, right? And so leaders find a way to do that and make sure they really show that they care more about the other person than they do themselves. And that was one of the bigger lessons I learned here at the chamber and others. When you came in, my predecessor had passed away, and so I was coming into an organization that was struggling a little bit. I mean, struggling for leadership, struggling because there was a big void. And so recognizing that I needed to put their needs, at least I needed to make sure I communicate that their needs are important, that the mission of the chamber is vitally important. Carl Blackstone's needs were far below, right? And that's the way you treat others. And so that's my philosophy of leadership, and what I hope others in this community will do too. And I think it goes a long way.
And I think what you're describing is something that I would call servant leadership.
Absolutely.
And it's where, a leader that has just the regular leader or maybe dictatorial mindset it's about them. And they take their team, and the team has to make sacrifices on behalf of them. When you talk about a true servant leader, that servant leader is there to make sure that the team members are taken care of, make sure that the overall goal of the organization, in your case, the organization and the community, are at the forefront, and you put forth your best self to ensure that those things are happening. And then the people and the businesses that are engaged with the chamber, and really those that aren't, because those that aren't benefit as well.
Absolutely.
That the mission and vision of the community is realized. And I commend you on that, because that is, especially now, the new direction of leadership. There's the gap now where we have the generational gaps. Mm-hmm. And for the first time ever, we have 5 and about to have 6 different generations working in the same workforce. The millennials and the baby boomers doing a lot of clashing.
That's right.
And the leadership of the baby boomers, especially the earlier baby boomers, are more dictatorial and do as I say, and millennials not really feeling that. And as a leader, you have to be able to leverage and manage all of that, and where we're going, where we're heading, and the environment and people that we're leading really dictates more to that servant leadership, because in that case, you can serve everybody and you can meet everybody where they are. So I commend you on your leadership in Columbia and the Midlands area, and leading our ecosystem, I'll call it, in a growth phase and a good phase where we're all taken care of.
Well, thank you. I don't pretend to always get it right. I'll be the first to say that, but it's a work in progress. And but it does take a village, right? It takes a lot of people, and to do that, it's work, it's effort, and you got to be deliberate, and you got to do a lot of listening. So that's a huge key.
Yes, definitely. So Carl, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, and I know you are busy, but we wanted to have an opportunity for you to share some of your wisdom. We appreciate that. So if you could leave our audience with one piece of leadership advice, what would that be?
I hate to sound redundant, but I think everybody, if more people were truly authentic and be comfortable challenging in a very polite, nice way if you don't like something, but be true to yourself. Hold steady your belief system, but more importantly, do it in a way that is respectful. And even if you mean you're challenging things, I love folks that are willing to upset an apple cart, but do it in a respectful manner. And so don't be fearful of challenging the status quo. I mean, that's what this is. Change is important, and we're all evolving, but be authentic and make sure that you're doing it for the right reason, not just to be a flamethrower, but make sure that you're doing it for the right reason. And that, again, that goes back to authenticity. I think people will really be open to change if you come at it with the right approach. And that's leadership, in my opinion. And but be bold, be strong, be consistent. People go a long way.
Awesome. That was great advice. So from our audience to you, Carl Blackstone, we thank you for all that you do for our community. Thank you for coming on to our broadcast. And to our listeners, thank you so much for being with us again for another episode of the Synergy Leadership Institute.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Synergy Leadership Podcast with Karen R. Jenkins. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe, rate, review, and share our show. See you next time.